All right, we're here at the RSW Regional Jail, and we are approaching the first year anniversary of the McShin Foundation sponsored recovery and reentry program for inmates. And that's going to be marked by a summit at the Mountain Bed and Breakfast on the south side of town on Remount Road. Is that going to be open to the public?
Yes.
And what will we have to report there?
Well, we're coming together to celebrate the success of the project, and
maybe I'm last. I didn't introduce you. You're Chris
Ronquest.
Chris Ronquest.
Yes.
And you are the program director.
I am. Yeah.
Okay, so back to where we were. What have you seen over the first year here?
Well, I tell you, we have two jails that we're working with on this project. Two jails. This one, RSW Regional, and Riverside Regional out in Prince George. And both of these particular jails, they both offered services for people dealing with addiction, but neither had a specific program pod for peers to come in and provide peer recovery support services. So we were really excited to be able to do this project with these guys. Superintendent Gilkison here has been extremely welcoming. So we come into these jails and we bring in authentic peer recovery support services. And what that means is that I too am a person who suffers from substance use disorders who has found recovery. So we come in, we offer the hope and the knowledge and hopefully the tools and the skills that these participants would have otherwise not received being incarcerated, in the hopes that they can build a foundation of recovery.
And I imagine that has a little more impact on inmates rather than just being lectured to, you should do better with your life, but to be talking to people that have been through it themselves and they can relate to what they're going through.
It seems to have a huge impact. Again, like I said, I'm a person in recovery from substance use disorder, and how I was introduced to recovery was in a setting exactly like this. I was incarcerated due to some illegal behavior I was doing to get more drugs, and the McShin Foundation came into the jail that I was at the time, and they offered a program just like this. And up until that point, I had no hope of doing anything different than what I had always done, and that was chase more drugs or alcohol. And so I had been to rehab before, traditional clinical settings. I had, of course, been incarcerated before. I'd been to church and prayed and, tried to do anything I could to make changes in my life, and nothing ever worked until the McShin Foundation entered with their peers who were also in recovery. Now, when these ladies and gentlemen were coming in, they were telling their stories, based on their experience, strength, and hope, how they overcame their addictions. Like, I started to be able to relate to them. I was able to relate to them. These people weren't just teaching me about addiction and the recovery from it. They were telling me how they did it, and it had a huge impact on me. I haven't turned back since.
And how is it being on the other side of the equation now? You're the one going in, helping these people reach a point where they can hopefully be successful in turning their lives around permanently. What's it like? Having experienced both sides of it.
I got to tell you, it's almost unbelievable. 4 years ago, you couldn't have told me that I would, one, be in recovery, clean and sober from any mood or mind altering substances. Two, not living in a jail cell or dead somewhere. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have believed any one of those things. But if you would have told me 4 years ago that I would be coming in and out with a clearance badge to walk in and out of jails and prison and try to offer the same hope that was given to me, I would have laughed in your face probably. It's huge. What I've learned in my path to recovery is that I can only keep what I have by giving it away. That's it. That's the whole idea of peer recovery support in a nutshell. We help each other get and stay clean, and as a result, we get to feel good about it spiritually, and so it helps us stay clean.
And you're based out of Richmond with the McShin Foundation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Diane Lieber, you're a local and have gotten involved as a volunteer. How did you come to get involved with the McShin Foundation program here?
Well, it's kind of a unique journey. One, I am also in recovery, was fully functional, but I definitely have a substance use disorder and been in recovery, for sustained recovery for about 24 years now. So my whole goals, actually I'm retired. I'm retired from the Air Force and I'm retired from Department of Homeland Security. And in my retirement, what I wanted to pursue was some kind of counseling, some kind of ability to help others. I first, and you know this from, first started participating in the jail projects with the dog program that we had here. And when the superintendent decided that he was going to bring in the McShin Foundation and start a really recovery pod program, he asked me if I'd be interested in participating. For me, it has actually been a lifesaver. For me, it's been an incredible experience. I don't think I really want to do anything else. I come in 5 days a week. I work with both the men's pod, which usually houses between 50 and at the most 60 people, and then I also go into the women's pod, which houses about 25 people at an average. And in many cases, to see them come into that pod and broken and afraid and determined that when they get back out, they're just going to go back into the same life that they had, and to see them actually begin to embrace recovery. It's something for me in my recovery that is incredibly heartwarming. It fulfills me. It really fulfills me. I wish I had found this a lot earlier. But I do see significant changes in what their receptivity is to recovery. And they will in many cases share that when they first come into the pod, they're not really about recovery. They're not thinking about changing. But
Even if they are, they may think it's not possible.
You're exactly right, and this is a lot of what McShin is about, is bringing in hope. They call themselves hope dealers, not dope dealers. So, and they hear that message after a while, and pretty soon you've got the ones that have been into the pod the longer period of time, who have really embraced a lot of the concepts of recovery and has felt that change in themselves. They start mentoring the other ones. So what I do is I just come in and I try to keep that going, as well as I try to bring in a lot of tools that they can have to not only, it's not only it is a neurological disease, but we also call it a physical, emotional, and spiritual disorder. So recovery is about addressing all of those issues. And for me, it is part of that whole thing. It's healing for me to be able to share that and to see where others embrace it as well.
And I guess seeing it continue at that level helps support your long-time recovery.
Definitely so, definitely so. And it shows me that there is hope to change this whole dynamic that has continued for far too long and too many people dying from this disease.
Right. Now, I know the program for the two jails, RSW here in Riverton that you mentioned, was based on a grant. Forget the name of the organization, but it's something that deals with...
It was a SAMHSA grant.
Yeah. And how is that grant in place? How many years does that assure the program going on, and how secure for how long is the program financially?
The SAMHSA, which is Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA granted McShin a $200,000 matching grant for 3 years. So it's $200,000. SAMHSA puts up $200,000 worth of federal funds. McShin puts up $200,000 worth of our funds, and we get to use that $400,000 for 3 years. So it's as long as we continue to uphold the progress that we have, we'll continue to receive that federal funding. So it's a $200,000 a year matching grant for 3 years.
Okay. And I know at the inauguration of this about a year ago, Russ, you said, initially you got into law enforcement and corrections. You were sort of a lock 'em up type of guy.
Sure.
But your experience led you to realize that warehousing prisoners isn't really accomplishing anything. You just see that cycle back and forth, and that this type of proactive program is the way to go.
Well, we really have nothing to lose as a community. You know, this is the people that are coming here. They're only part of the people that we're trying to reach in the community, but they're a large portion that we actually have the ability to get treatment and get them help kind of in a captured environment versus just warehousing them. And when you incarcerate somebody, you know, which is, you know, what we do, you're warehousing them, you know. So if we can provide them other life-changing skills or treatment, whether it be addiction, education, whatever, you know, we're much more productive if we can do that here than just warehousing bodies and holding them for periods of time. You know, if we can return them back to society better than what they came here, that should be our goal. You know, we spend a lot of money annually across the nation, not just locally, but to incarcerate people.
Right.
90% or more of our population suffers from some type of substance abuse. It may be higher than 90, but, you know, that's, you know, pretty much what we know. So if substance abuse, whatever it is, heroin, meth, whatever, if that's the cause of it.
It leads not just to drug offenses, but offenses.
Right.
Criminal offenses
They're committing
to
other
support the
crimes
drug
to
habit.
support their habit, correct. So yes, they have other crimes that they're here for, but the underlying reason is because of their substance abuse. So if we can try to somehow, you know, change that behavior or change the, you know, help them with their addiction so that they're not out committing crimes, that's a win for everybody. It's a win for the individual, it's a win for their families, it's a win for the rest of the community, because we're not going to be spending millions of dollars annually trying to warehouse people.
And that's what I was going to say to you is, if this is successful as it appears to be in lowering the recidivism rate, if the community ended up having to contribute money to it, it really pays for itself, because like you're saying, on the back end, it cuts all these incarceration expenses down.
Right. You know, and time will tell. You know, as 3 years passes and we kind of see the number of people that, you know, we can pinpoint down that this was successful for, then you can kind of put a dollar amount on that. You know, because we know how much it costs to house an individual here daily. So, you know, we can kind of, you know, if we can help 20 people, and 20 people, you know, it's not a hard fast number, but we'll just say it's $20,000, which is really low, you know, then you know that's what the dollar was. It's probably more for 20 people over a 3-year period. You're probably talking more like $2 million to incarcerate them. So, you know, if we have to, you know, if the community decides that, you know, this is successful and we need to put up $200,000, well, that's kind of a no-brainer. If we can save $2 million to spend 20, that's a good investment. But you know, those are numbers we don't have yet, but those are numbers that we're looking at, and hopefully we can have that and know that it's going to be a positive effect for the community.
And speaking of numbers, Chris and Russ and Diane, about how many inmates, male and female, have gone through the program here in that first year? Do you, off the top of your heads, do you have an estimate? I know said what it's like a 20 or 30 maximum in the women's pod, and
about
50
to 60 in the males, and transition through that. Oh my goodness, it's hard to tell. I'd say at least 100. I'm gonna guess at least.
And maybe several hundred. With a 90 max, is with the turnover rate basically consists of those that are getting released early or those that are getting released to our program for the reentry portion of it. It could be closer to several hundred.
You know, some people that have entered into the program, because we're not really restrictive on who can actually participate. If somebody puts a request in and we have a space available, doesn't matter if you're here 2 days or you're here 2 years. We don't look at that. You know, initially we kind of did, but if we've got the space available, let's try to get as many people in the group as we can. You know, it could be 2 days worth of, you know, peer support, or just knowing that there's help out there could change somebody. So we really aren't very restrictive. You know, if they don't have, you know, propensity for violence and they seem like they're serious, we'll give them a shot. So it very well could be 200 people. I don't know. We just, as people come in, they go, we allow them to participate, and that's really where we're at. We're really not trying to go, you know, we're only going to allow this many people here. We want as many as possible to be exposed to the program.
And if I recall from the launch last year, when people start transitioning out of jail, the program continues sort of like, aren't there like halfway houses that are available to them through the program that help support as they re-enter society?
Yes, sir. The McShin Foundation has 9 recovery residences. It's 6 male residences and 3 female residences. So, and we also partner with local recovery community organizations up here, Rivendell, Recovery Connection. So yeah, there is opportunity for, if they want to continue to build on their foundation of recovery, there's opportunity for them to do that in a safe, structured, sober living environment.
Let's get back a little bit to the summit, which is on the 29th of August, I think 1 to 3 p.m. at the Mountain Bed and Breakfast on South Side, on Remount Road, about 3,400 block or 34,000 block, I think.
I think it started.
But exactly what's that going to entail? How's the summit going to work?
So as part of this project, we are able to offer 20 program scholarships at the McShin Foundation for our participants who are active in their recovery process in the pods. They complete all their homework assignments. They have to be in the pod and active for a minimum of 6 weeks before we can consider them for the scholarship. But the scholarship's valued at $9,800 and includes everything that you can think of, it including groceries, substance abuse counseling, peer recovery coaching services, medical as necessary, transportation, housing. We have actually, we were thinking we were going to do 20 scholarships a year, but we've actually put up a little bit more funding so that we can do 25 a year. We're currently at 22 scholarship recipients, and I gotta be honest with y'all, in the beginning, I think statistically, they were predicting like almost, it's like 2.5 people out of 20 would still be living in our house and actively engaged in their recovery at the end of this year. And I was hopeful thinking those 6, we're gonna get 6. And we currently have 16 of those scholarship recipients who still live in our housing, who still maintaining their sobriety, who still actively engaged in their recovery process. So at this summit, we're going to bring a number of those scholarship recipients. I'm not sure yet how many, probably 10. And they'll speak for a couple of minutes about their experience in the jail and outside of jail. All of us will be there. The staff from RSW Regional and some staff members from Riverside Regional will be here. All of the facilitators will be here, and our executive staff from McShin Foundation in Richmond will be here.
So it's almost like a graduating class.
It's kind of like a graduating class. I don't know if I would say there's a graduation to recovery, but we're definitely really proud of these participants, and we're proud of our project. So we want them to get recognized for their achievements.
Well, you should be. It sounds like a great program. And Russ, I wanted to ask you a maybe last question. Do you see a trend towards this type of proactive program in corrections? Is that something that seems to be catching on, maybe not in just Virginia, but nationwide?
It is. I think that really is, the peer support is really a proven way to try to get people to recovery. Everything else is just theory, or it's hollow words. If I was to stand in front of those people, which I've never suffered from any kind of substance abuse, it would be hollow. I'm talking in theory and it wouldn't mean anything.
Right.
But when you've got people who've been through what they've been through and they see, wow, this actually works, then it kind of rings true, and it shows
on both sides they can say, okay,
Right.
I can relate to this person.
Right.
And on this side, the inmates, man, is there a chance I can get here, be where you are now, or you?
And for me, it's hard to understand what they've gone through. I've had many long conversations with Chris in my office to try to understand, because I don't. The better that I can understand, maybe the better that I can look at ways to change the way we do business here, or are there other programs, or are there other services that may be able to help them? So, not being through it, I try to educate myself on how to understand it and where they're coming from to try to
Still,
figure
like
out
you
what
said,
we do.
it's theoretical for you.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But I do know what resources are out there. I'll try to seek out resources. I try to be part of the solution with this team.
Right.
To try to make it happen. Like I said, we really just facilitate the program here. We're just here or facilitate the space for the program. They really are the program. They're the two that put their heart and soul into it every day, and we really appreciate it. And I hope the community appreciates the work that they do, because it's important. Without it, those 16 or 20 people may not be with us
try to
anymore.
get the word out,
So.
and maybe pick up the attendance at the
Sure,
summit, because I
absolutely.
think the more the community is aware of how it works and that it is working, the more support it would get.
Absolutely.
So we're looking forward to August 29th at Mountain Bed and Breakfast on South Remount Road, and good luck in going into your second year. Anything you all would like to add?
I think it's a beautiful program, and it's so rewarding when I do participate in these kind of summits, or I went down to the McShin Foundation recently, and to see people who used to be in stripes, who used to be in here, who used to feel so down on themselves and didn't have any hope, and now seeing them in a new environment, embracing recovery and feeling good about themselves and where their future is. It's incredibly rewarding.
Well, Diane, Chris, and Russ, thank you for being with us.
Thanks,
and
Ronnie.
great moving into your second year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.